G'day, today I'm down here at Tin Shed Studios. I'm here with Pete. How are you, Pete?
I'm going good.
Now tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a teacher and electronic music producer. I teach at secondary schools with a private school of mine and a couple of friends. And I also teach at higher education level and vet with SAE Institute. And I've been running the electronic music course there for about 4 years now. I also do a bit of kind of community work with the Ableton user group. We have regular meets every month on topics such as sound design, synthesis, recording, anything really to do with electronic music.
So do you want to run us through some of your gear that you got here?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I've got, this is my pride and joy. This is the 8-voice analog synthesizer with digital controls. Yes, it has a bit of digitalness to it. I used to have just pure hardware, but because of the nature of my kind of direction in my music, I really want to create a live performance that's very complex and I know just kind of interesting with as many different kinds of sounds as possible. So these digitally controlled analog synthesizers allow me to call up presets inside Ableton so I can flick through different patches and I don't have to reprogram every single lead sound every time I do a new track.
So you're telling me that's a synthesizer?
Yes.
See, when I think of synthesizers, I think of something like a keyboard that synthesized basically. So this is obviously one that's in a box.
Yeah, that's right. So in an electronic music studio where ergonomics definitely count, it's nice to have a central MIDI keyboard and to splay your, I guess, your hardware all around yourself.
Looking at hardware as out of the box and in the box, what do you prefer, or do you do a bit of a mixture?
I prefer a mixture, definitely. So in terms of hardware and software, in terms of synthesizers, I guess the hardware has its, it takes a little bit to warm up the voices of the synth, and it's got a bit of a life to it. Every time you play a run of notes, that run of notes will change in character because of the nature of the electricity flowing through the machine. Whereas in software, it's kind of based on calculations which are very exact. So I know some companies like Arturia, for example, that make software synthesizers have tried to put algorithms in their software to account for these slight changes. But I still prefer the sound of these old school beasts.
So when you're producing electronic music, what do you start with?
So a lot of the times I'll start with a beat, but sometimes I'll just have an interesting idea in my head in terms of melody. Maybe I've woken up at 3 AM with a crazy dream and I just want to get it down. Instead of a notepad, I'll just get on the computer and start playing the keyboard. And sometimes I'll get some weird instruments like the ones behind you there, the Tibetan singing bowl, for example, and I'll start it up and record it with my microphones and then process it and do some sound design.
So you can mix your acoustics with your electronics, basically?
Yeah.
Do you do that with your drums, or do you have a go-to drum library?
What I basically do, I have some go-to folders for I guess placeholders. So I have kind of different flavors of kick drums and snare drums I sometimes use. If I've got an idea of percussion in my head, I'll quickly put those placeholders down and then build the percussion. Sometimes I'll just start with a blank page and make my own kick from scratch.
How do you actually make your own kick from scratch?
The old process I used to use was a very hip-hop orientated process where you would have a sampler and some drum pads, and you might record in some vinyls and record some kick drums, various sources of kick drums, and you might use one kick drum for the boom, the body, and one for the click on top. So you would stack them together and then EQ them. I used to do that a bit, but now what I've done with Ableton is I've started to edit the actual waveforms. So you'll basically get different waveforms from different kicks and you'll cut them together like a collage.
So when you're producing your electronic music, you obviously want to be able to replicate that live?
Yeah. I've been going through kind of a change in my production where I used to mainly produce in the box, and then once I've got a fully fledged track from 0 to 8 minutes, I would take that track and extract pieces out of it, and then basically put it into Ableton's different view. So in Ableton you've got the arrange view where you arrange your stuff in a time sequence, and you've got session view where you can have stuff in a non-linear way. Time can be infinite. So you can have loops playing. And that's how I used to do things. I used to take the arranged bits and put them in this loop format. But now I'm kind of starting to change my work process, and I'm going into the arrange. I'm sticking with the loops and keeping it to say 8 or 16 bar loops. And then I'm not arranging the track and straight away going from those loops into the session view and then arrange it in a live way. So I jam with my tracks afterwards.
One of my problems that I have is when I'm doing, say, some dance music or electronic music, I'm not that much into it, but I seem to always overproduce my sound. Is there a time when you got to say, right, that's it, walk away?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I used to have a friend that actually did everything in MIDI, and he always, because it was in MIDI, he always went back and changed something. Then when you change one thing, you'd have to change the rest, because as soon as you change one sound, it doesn't fit with the sounds before it. And you're in this kind of like this vortex that you keep going back in and then back in and back in and keep making changes. One process I really like myself is I just commit bits of MIDI to audio. So I can't go back anymore.
That's it.
I just go one direction.
Yeah. Now, it's called Ableton Live for a reason. It's because you can play and do everything live. Mm-hmm. Can we see a demo?
Yeah, sure.
So for any more information about what you do, how can people contact you?
Well, basically, if people are interested in getting into electronic music and want to see what it's all about, we hold regular monthly meetups with our user group. We're just on Facebook under the Ableton Live user group Brisbane. We don't have a website yet for the user group, but if people come onto our Facebook page, they can sign up to a newsletter and get informed of next meetups that are going on. And if people want to learn a little bit, I've got the Music Academy that me and a couple of friends are running, and we teach people anything from starting out to more advanced stuff. So that's the Music Tech Academy, and you can find that at musictechacademy.com.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for your time, Pete. Really enjoyed coming out here and having a look at your studio.
Okay, well, it looks like Pete's got a great studio set up there. Darren, what did you think of his setup?
Yeah, well, I've seen Pete's live rig kind of evolve over the past few years, and whenever he takes it out to a gig, and you can see him affecting actions live, and so it's good to see where he's at now, I guess, in terms of how he's evolving with how he puts together a live set. Even though you could just theoretically just press play and it all sounds amazing,
Yeah.
To add an aspect of like performality, or add an aspect of live performance to it is an interesting workaround, and one that you need to find a balance between something that's just too much effort for not enough fun, and is it worth my while to extrapolate and then work from there, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right, because I think the general impression is some electronic artists, they keep things nice and simple, and they only do the smallest of things live, but it seems his approach is a lot different, and as is yours, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I guess I like to have a whole bunch of variety to, I guess, the liveliness of my set. So depending on whether somehow I've become unable to perform the normal set, I have a press play set. It's all arranged. I don't have to do anything. And then I've got an Ableton live set, like he kind of explained it, where he's taken the arrangement and then broken it down into session clips, and then you can trigger clips and you can affect different channels individually. And then I've got a way where you just bounce down most of your arrangement, but without some parts, leaving space to play it live or to tweak effects live. And then I've also got like this little drum machine that I use, which adds, you know, a new level of performance, and yeah, it's certainly at least a lot more fun than just kind of hitting buttons, you know.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Well, there's still a lot more coming up, guys. After the break, we're going to head out to LOA's Music to find out more about monitor speakers and headphones, as well as catch up with Australian Concert Productions for some more live sound tips. See you guys soon.